the 2024 and 2025 NFL playoffs. The first game is LA Chargers versus Houston Texans. Even though the Texans are at home, they've been struggling at the end of the season, getting blown out on Christmas versus the Ravens. But Nico Collins and CJ Stroud haven't been clicking as much, and Tank Dell is out, while Justin Herbert is not throwing interceptions, taking care of the football, and the LA Chargers have one of the best, or the best, turnover defense. Give me the Chargers on this one. And in the second game is divisional matchup, big classic rivalry that's been played sometimes in the playoffs with Joe Flacco versus Big Ben Roethlisberger. But these two teams are completely different from the start of the year and the end. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry have been unstoppable, and they blew out Pittsburgh about 2 or 3 weeks before the end of the season. But Pittsburgh was 10-3, now they're 10-7 with turmoil with Russell Wilson and George Pickens and Mike Tomlin. How would that affect them? And their defense has not been clicking either as late. The Ravens have been nearly unstoppable, been clicking, showing a blowout versus Pittsburgh, and on Christmas Day, the Houston Texans, completely unstoppable. If there's one team that probably can stop them, is the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I don't think they will. I think Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry rolls through this one. I think the Steelers are going to get bounced late. And now, the third wild card game, Denver versus Buffalo. Denver has been having a successful season, finally breaking the playoff drought. And Bo Nix has been playing lights out from start of the year to the end of the year with an incredible turnover defense of Denver that's a bunch of ball hawks and turnover machines that creates turnovers versus opponents. Versus the Buffalo Bills, a well-rounded team, maybe a Super Bowl favorite in the AFC besides the Baltimore Ravens. Well, everybody predicts that Buffalo is just going to walk through Denver. I don't think it's going to be that easy, but nevertheless, they're going to win the game. Now, on the NFC side, in the wild card, you got the Green Bay Packers going on the road to Philadelphia Eagles. And just like these two, at the beginning of the season in week 1, it was a great game, my favorite game of the season, and it could happen again. With frigid temperatures, maybe snow, it's going to be a classic playoff game with two teams from the north, the Eagles and the Packers, in a geographic area. I think the Packers will get by the Eagles because they just have a good enough run game with Josh Jacobs, and they can wear you down and they can hang on. And they might not stop Saquon Barkley, but Jalen Hurts, I wonder how his hand is, but also the connection with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I wonder how that will go in the frigid temperatures. Give me the Packers. I think the Packers will get by the Eagles. And for the second NFC wildcard game, you got the Washington Commanders versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is like the most even as you can get with two teams. Yeah, the Buccaneers have been clicking, but the last 2 or 3 weeks versus the Cowboys, and they faced the Saints, they were not very good. And one loss, and they could have lost again versus the Saints at the end of the year. But then you got the Washington Commanders rolled off 5 wins straight at the end of the year. Well, it's not freezing temperatures. If it's in Washington, I would pick them automatically. But Tampa, they've been this way before, and it's the same team as 2023 NFL playoffs. Well, I think Washington Commanders will get by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because this showed me at the end of the year that when Buccaneers, when it's all on the line, they seem like they were having trouble versus the Saints. And Washington, well, their defense been pretty crunk at the end of the year. Well, I'm taking the Washington Commanders over Tampa Bay. And for the last wild card game for the NFC, well, you got the Vikings versus the LA Rams. Well, what happened to the Rams? They went 1-4 and all of a sudden turned it around and won the NFC West division. With the healthy Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Matthew Stafford, it totally turned around the whole team, the whole season. While on the other hand, the Vikings has been impeccable until there were some instances in some games that Sam Darnold showed flashes of his old self, but still prevailed and do better the next week after a bad game. Now, the last regular season game showed a lot versus the Lions and getting blown out by the Lions. Sam Darnold missing throws. But like that, I don't think it's going to be that bad. But this is going to be a close game. It's going to be a great game anyways. I think it's going to be the Vikings over the LA Rams. Sticking in the NFC, this is the divisional round. Detroit versus Green Bay. This game will not be impacted by weather, so it'll be inside of a dome. This game, the last two games they played this year together, they've been barn burners and they're great games, especially in December 5th, 34-31, and November 24-14. They've been obviously close. But David Montgomery's coming back with Gibbs, Knuckles, Sonics and Knuckles coming back. Oh my gosh. And Green Bay, they just got off the road from Philadelphia dealing with Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. It's going to be a close game. Well, guess what? I think Green Bay will not have enough. It'll be lost by a field goal. Detroit goes to the NFC Championship game. It'll be a very close game. I think even Green Bay can win this game. But Detroit's on a different level and know how to close it out. And for the second divisional round in the NFC, you got the Vikings versus the Washington Commanders. Well, guys, Washington Commanders has been on a roll this year, more than expected. Jaden Daniels has been unbelievable, especially with their double threat running back. They can throw in the passing game and create confusion with their formations. But the Vikings defense has been pretty vulnerable the last couple weeks, letting Green Bay almost come back, getting blown out by Lions. That being said about the defensive woes lately for Vikings, well, with that, they can have an upside. They have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, and they can light up the yardage and score some touchdowns big for the Vikings. I take the Vikings over the Washington Commanders in a very close barn burner game. And for the AFC divisional round, you got LA Chargers going to Arrowhead versus Kansas City. And let's just say Kansas City could lose this game versus LA Chargers. But it'd be frigid temperatures, and I don't think LA Chargers be built for that based on the weather alone. And their running game is not as great compared to defense of the Chiefs with Chris Jones and company. I think Kansas City will win this game, but it's been very close the last two meetings this year. And LA Chargers can't get over the hump. I don't think they get over the hump the third time either. And the matchup everybody is wanting to see, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry versus Josh Allen, and this will be played in Buffalo. They played earlier this year when Buffalo got blown out and got punked by the Ravens, but this is totally different. Buffalo's have been clicking. The Ravens have been clicking a lot too. It's going to be a great matchup to come. This could be the game of the year. But if you look at it, it's at home at Buffalo for the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. It's going to be freezing temperatures. Both places, Baltimore and Buffalo, have freezing temperatures. There's something about at Buffalo. I think Buffalo can win this game. It's going to be a crazy game, but I think Josh Allen finds a way to win. I don't think Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry going to have a big game versus Josh Allen in this game. They're going to have a hard time getting going. I think the Bills go to the AFC Championship. Now it's the Conference Championship games. Let's start with the AFC where we left off. Kansas City Chiefs, Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes and company. Well, they've been skidding by their teeth the whole season. This is probably the worst 15-1 team in a long, long time. Not very good. They could have lost almost 6 or 7 games easily. But somehow away and another, they found out how to win. While the other side, the Buffalo Bills, have been crazy good. And they've been blowing people out and finding ways to win. I don't think nobody can stop Josh Allen. I don't think the Chiefs will be able to catch up with Josh Allen with the way they played the whole season. But this is the playoffs. That's when the Chiefs come alive. But I think Bills finally get what they deserve. They go into the Super Bowl. And for the NFC side, the Vikings versus the Lions again. But it turned out different the third time. The first time was a 2-point game win for the Lions. And then the second time, the last week of the year, well, it was a blowout. The third time, I don't think it won't be much different. It will be the Lions beating the Vikings. I think we got what we got. I think the Lions have the Vikings numbers. And to be honest, at the end of the year, I think they keep Sam Darnold. I don't think Vikings will get rid of Sam Darnold. But I think this is good enough run for them to keep him. It's a win-win situation for them. But the Lions will face the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl. Now, we're going to have a classic Super Bowl. Super Bowl 59, the Buffalo Bills versus Detroit Lions. And if it's anything like Week 15, it could be the greatest Super Bowl of all time. It's going to be crazy. Well, I think if Dan Campbell wins this game, it'll be freaking crazy. Jared Goff will be a hero. Detroit will be a bunch of winners now, even though the last couple of years they've been pretty dang good. Now they establish themselves as winning franchise versus the Buffalo Bills that have been trying to get a Super Bowl in the 90s, losing to the Giants and the Cowboys heartbreaker after heartbreaker in the 90s, and they finally get back to the Super Bowl. I do not think that the Lions will stop Josh Allen. They didn't do it in Week 15. I don't think they're going to do it in the Super Bowl. And to be honest, this is going to be the Buffalo Bills' year. They have been totally unstoppable, did everything they could, blowing at people out, and coming back to find a way to win. I think the Buffalo Bills get what they rightfully deserve for a long, long time and get their Super Bowl.